Yeah, good morning, everybody. It's KB5MIQ Big Boy. Got ham radio cat in here, Aaron. Hope you get to watch this, buddy. Keep hanging out with your dad. All right, I had a request for a video I'm going to try to answer this morning. Let me read you what the request was about my last video. Good info, a good video, and one I really need for HF is tuning. When is it necessary? When is an auto tuner needed? And what extra equipment is necessary? Thanks for another great video. Well, I appreciate everybody commenting on that. And I'm going to try to address that this morning. Now, we'll tell you, the experts are probably going to heads explode at my explanation for my version and view on a tuner. And so I'm not telling everybody I'm absolutely right. I'm just telling you how I did it. All right. Do you need a tuner for HF? No. Now, I'm sure people are blowing up right now, but let me tell you why I say that. If your antenna is cut properly for the frequencies you want, for the frequency, center frequency you want to operate on, you don't need a tuner. You just have to remember that your SWR is only good for the frequency you cut the antenna on, and so far, either side of it. And if you get enough bandwidth for that, then you don't need a tuner. I'll give you a good example. And one person actually commented, thought I was still a novice. I'm an extra class ham, but I was a novice for a long time due to hearing issues in CW. In one of my earlier videos, I explained all that. But, so all my phone privileges for a lot of years was strictly from 28.3 to 28.5. My first antenna was a 11 meter 3-element beam that WD5HKV had recut to 10 meters and had it set at like 28, 400 or 450 in that range. But it was broad enough that I could use it over the majority of my part of the phone band. Used it for a long time, made a lot of great contacts with it. Hey, buddy, it's ham radio cat. She decided she needs to get on video. All right. The next antenna I used, I tried a Mosley T33 Junior tri-bander. New at this, didn't understand a lot of it. The old radios weren't that forgiving. I didn't realize I wasn't using my SWR meter in the radio properly, and I didn't realize I was having a problem with that antenna. On single sideband, it never did show a problem. But I went to trying to practice Morse code with it and burnt finals up. So that was my mistake, one of the mistakes we make in ham radio. So got radio repaired, and I cut a dipole and used it for a long time. No tuner needed. SWR was good. I got another meter, double checked it. SWR was fine. Never needed a tuner. WD5HKV is just like me. He's been a ham since the 70s. He never used a tuner, never owned a tuner. Well, when I upgraded my license, decided to upgrade my radio and everything, I went to a FT897D with an LDG 897 tuner, AT897 tuner, using a Van Gordon G5RV antenna. Not going to start the G5RV argument at all, so we won't even go in there. My personal experience with it was a good antenna. Every band I used it on, it tuned fine with that auto tuner. Never had any problem with it. I made a lot of contacts with it. That was the only antenna I had up. So, and we're getting off track here a little bit, but I'm going to go back to it. Changed it to it was up a lot of years, got wore out. Changed to an MFG, G5RV, wasn't that happy with it. Made some contacts, but it just seemed like it just didn't work quite as well. And went my other antenna issues where I'm at today. But it was an auto tuner. All right. I've owned one other manual tuner I bought off eBay years ago and never used it. Took it straight, they didn't have instructions with it, took it straight to a ham swap meet and sold it. All right. Do you need a tuner on HF? Like I said, if your antenna's cut right, you don't. But all a tuner does is lie to the radio that the radio is seeing a 50 ohm match or close to a 50 ohm match as possible that the tuner can do. It's not making a bad antenna a good antenna. at all. It's just protecting your radio. All right. A good example of that, I put up a 160 dipole. And again, the expert's head will explode if you see how I put it up. It's nowhere near high enough, but I make contacts with it. But I had a hard time tuning it to get it into the phone portion of the band. And when I finally got it, I got it in the lower phone portion. But if I get up in the higher phone portion, my SWR goes up. So I can hit the tuner and it expands my bandwidth and works fine in that type of application. Would I want to tune a completely wrong antenna, try to tune a 10-meter antenna on 160 meters? No. It might tune, but it ain't going to work. It probably won't even tune. All right. Now, auto tuner versus manual tuner. I can't comment about a manual tuner because I've only had one I never used. Little bit I do know about a manual tuner, that a lot of people would use them, tune up on their frequency, like tune off of, say there's a QSO going on 28,450. When you're tuning a manual tuner, you're sending a carrier out. So if you try to tune on that frequency, you're going to interrupt the QSO. Probably tune off 3-4 kilocycles, tune it, then go back, and it should be fine. But I've never used a manual tuner. Somebody else can chime in about a manual tuner and help this guy out. My auto tuner, the one I originally had, the LDG 1897, took a cat cable and another cable from a accessory pin slot to run it. A lot of people like LDG stuff, and a lot of people don't. I like them. I have used that tuner a long time, and when I had trouble with it, LDG took care of me. I'm using a AT100, YT100 now. All that's required of it is a cat cable. From the cat output on my computer to the cat input on the tuner, SO239 from the radio to the tuner, and from the tuner to the antenna. I've seen some instances where some people say that if you can't tune a ladder line antenna unless the tuner's made for it. I'm not going to say they're wrong. I really don't have any experience with it. Both of my G5RVs, the first one, the Van Gordon, the reason I liked it a little better, and I think it performed better, from what I'd always been told about a G5RV, that it was 35 foot, a 300 ohm twin lead, terminated in to where your coax connector goes in. Stand by, I gotta take a little break. I'll be right back. Yeah, this video's gonna have 3 videos spliced. Well, I got interrupted. I was talking about the G5RV differences in them that I was using with that tuner. Like I say, the Van Gordon had the 35 foot 300 ohm twin lead, and it was terminated into coax. And I really liked that antenna. I had a lot of good contacts with it. Not knocking the MFJ when I put up later. I left that one up probably 10 years. It was getting corroded, and I think one of my leads broke up there where the twin lead went in, so I took it down. The MFJ, I noticed, had 450 ohm ladder line, 35 foot of it, terminated into an SO239. Made contacts with it, used a tuner with it, and I used it on every band. The only band that both of those G5RV said they wouldn't operate on was that 60 meter, 10 megahertz band. Never been on it. I guess I need to put a dipole up for that, but I about got all the antennas strung all over the yard I can put up right now. But used the auto tuner on both of them, and for some reason it just seemed like I didn't get the signal reports off the MFJ version. Not knocking MFJ a bit, and not knocking the G5RV. A lot of people do. For if you've only got one antenna and a push-up pole, and you want to get on HF, and you got an auto tuner or a tuner at all, but you need a tuner to run one of them, go for it. They'll work fine. You'll make contacts with it. All right, but like I said, I don't know if it had anything to do with the actual tuning of it being different type of feed line in the middle of it, like it was or not. That's just my experience with that antenna. All right, I think the next splice will show the rest of what I talked about on tuners, and I think that'll cover all my minimum knowledge of tuners. So anyway, I'm gonna splice this other end. That's it. All right, everybody, I'm back. I'm going to splice these together. I ain't camera friendly yet. I messed up my video there. All right, we're talking about tuners. All right, equipment you'll need, auto tuners. Personally, I kind of like the auto tuner. It makes it a lot simpler. Go to frequency, push a button. It's got some memory ideas. If you come back to the same frequency, it should automatically go back to it, depending on the brand of the tuner and things like that. What cabling you will need depends on the tuner brand. Like I said, mine only needed the cat cable, and it came with it. The jumper cable, you need a jumper from the radio to the tuner, an EL259 jumper, which is just one of these. Some of them come with it, some didn't. The AT897 come with one. The YT100 didn't, but I had several laying around, so that's what you need to jumper that to. The main thing with a tuner, in my opinion, is use it to have a correct antenna for the band you're on, but use the tuner to broaden your bandwidth. All right. Like I'm running a 17-meter dipole right now on 17, and it's broadbanded enough. I hadn't had any problem anywhere in the phone portion using it. But the phone portion is bigger in other bands. Like in 160, it's a little bit bigger. I don't recommend using a tuner to try to make a bad antenna work, because all it's doing is lying to the radio. Also remember the frequency ranges of your tuner, because some of them they're not all the same. This one here is 1.8 to 50 megahertz. It covers 160 to 6 meters. Some cover that, some don't. A lot of your radios, your HF rigs, come with an auto tuner built in them. I've never messed with one, but I'm assuming there's no other cabling needed. You'll just hook the radio up. The tuner's internal. It may not have the capability of an external tuner, but if you keep your antennas cut as close as possible, or using a multi-band antenna like a G5RV, even though I know a lot of people think it's a failed experiment for a 20 meter, but still, I've used one for years and made a lot of contacts with it. Just use your tuner, keep your frequencies, your antennas as close to resonant as they can, but use a tuner to broadband a little bit. Another thing, if you're going to use a tuner and you're going to use an amplifier, you have to buy a tuner rated for that amp. This LDG's not. I think it's only rated for 300 watts. Of course, I don't use an amp, so I don't have a problem with it. That's a big thing to remember. And those tuners are way more expensive than these, anything that'll run on just a 100-watt barefoot rig. All right, I hope that helped y'all out today, and I may have missed a couple things. Anybody comment and leave it, and I'll correct it in my next video. Thank you everybody who subscribed to the channel. We're getting close to breaking 100 subscribers. I enjoy doing these to help promote the hobby. Please, if somebody asks a question, just try to answer them as cordial as you can and help them out. Try not to be derogatory. Nobody likes that. And got any comments on my stuff, please leave me a comment, leave me a like, subscribe to the channel. Everybody have a great day. KB5 MIQ, Big Boy, 73.